The Big Show on Kiss 92.
Except today, Glenn's not here, so it's Angel, Daphne, and the Flying Dutchman. And we have in the studio Dr. Chong Chun Sing as well, because it's Good Morning Doctor time. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, everyone.
Do we call you like Dr. C, Dr. Chong? How would you like to be referred to?
Dr. Chong is fine.
Dr. Chong.
Chong.
Okay. Dr. Chong is a general and colorectal surgeon from Mount Elizabeth Hospital. And just to qualify, this is Mount E Orchard. And today we'll be talking about colon health.
So what, actually, let's get down to it, okay? What is...
Diving in.
Yeah, just, literally diving in. We're talking about your
FT.
colon. Yeah, right. What is colon cancer?
Well, basically, it's a cancer that arises from your large intestine. So it's like... it arises from the inner lining of the colon. And it's kind of like the most common cancer in Singapore.
Oh, the most common.
Yeah, it is. Number one, actually.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
what? Okay,
didn't
I
know
thought
that.
it would, everything else but colon cancer.
Yeah,
I didn't
you
link that
wouldn't
with it.
think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually quite surprised because
Yeah.
like we advertise about the screening for colon cancer for such a long time already. It's been many years.
Yeah.
And it has been number one for also many years, easily over
Oh,
like
dear.
20 years as far as the data we have. And number one in males, definitely. For females, you might have heard of breast cancer.
Yes,
That's
of
number one
course.
in females.
Okay.
But number two is colon cancer.
So why such a high number, I mean, for colon cancer? What
Yeah.
actually causes it?
Well, we think that, both genetics as well as lifestyles play a part. So we're kind of like in a westernized diet, and that's why we really follow what like we see in America as well as like UK as well. And we think that the risk factors include like smoking, like you have like fatty diet, lack of fiber, the lack of exercise. I mean, these are all risk factors towards colon cancer.
Yeah.
And if you really talk about genetics, well, actually, genetic or inherited cancers actually account for less than about 5% of
Okay.
all colon cancer
wow.
Oh,
patients.
okay.
Yeah.
So not really that high of a number then,
Yeah,
for
'cause-
and genetic wise.
yeah, because I mean we probably only identified these known ones, like the known conditions. One is like FAP and one is HNPCC. Okay,
We're
Big
getting
words that
technical
no one really
now.
understands.
No, we have no idea what you're saying.
I know. So these are actually identified genes that actually have, if you have a mutation in them, you're gonna get like cancer, like
Got you.
almost definite kind of thing.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
So, but that accounts for less than 5% of all the patients with cancer that we see.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's continue to talk to Dr. Chong on the Big Show TV, because I want to touch on what you said with diet
Yeah.
and particularly our hawker food.
Oh.
So let's go on to the Big Show TV. You can join us on YouTube and Facebook /Kiss92FM. Right now, here's One Republic with Sunshine.
Running through the strange light, chasing all them green lights.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
We're-
cool. You heard
now
a bit
we're
of the
live.
music and all that. So
Yeah.
we're still live on
Oh my
Facebook.
gosh,
Yeah,
so cool.
isn't that cool?
So you're going to talk hawker food. You're
Yeah.
going to tell me I can't eat my kway
No,
teow.
No.
well, I mean, you did say lifestyle, and lifestyle would be attributed
Yeah.
majorly with food,
Well,
and our
yeah.
food isn't the healthiest.
Well, yeah, but
Come
I
on.
hate to sound like a broken record, right?
Yeah.
You kind of already know that, like
Everything
those-
in moderation.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because you don't actually have like a particular food that confirm leads to cancer. And
What about the oil, though? I mean, not the particular food,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
oiliness that is in food and the type of oil that's used. Is that a contributing factor?
Well, okay, so if you base on studies, obesity is definitely a risk factor for cancer.
But
So-
obesity could be the fat in a human body, not necessarily
Well, that-
consumption of oil, right?
But that
Okay, I
fat
guess
comes from somewhere, isn't it?
Could be
Yeah.
sugar, what?
So I think it's kind of like the bio environment where how your body deals with, it's stress, injury, as well as repair. So if you have, for example, a heavy, fatty meal and you take it for a long time, your body starts to deal with like, okay, I've got to like handle this fat somewhere, right? And you either store them in the wrong places, or you find another alternative way to burn them. And a lot of times they will probably produce like what we call metabolites, that means waste products. That
Oh, and
if
that
you
gets
can't
stuck.
handle them because
Yeah.
it's too much, then they will cause damage to your cells.
Oh, right. Okay.
And these are produced even if I'm burning?
Okay, so I think that it's like why we call it a balance is because if you have too much, then what your output is, like your exercise
Yeah.
and everything. So then
Has to be equivalent.
Yeah,
almost.
you probably can't
Yeah.
do it, and then you accumulate the damage.
Yeah.
There's really
Right.
no like big scientific data to say that this is like definite pathway. In fact, the kind of mutations that gather can be due to so many sources.
Right.
Right.
I have a question
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
a lot of people that get lung cancer and all that, they always say
Yeah.
it's smoking and stuff. Is it
Yeah.
possible to be completely healthy and somehow
Get cancer.
get
Cancer.
diagnosed with colon
Yes,
cancer?
right.
Unfortunately,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah, I
It
know.
does happen because
Yeah,
you
it's
hear
fun.
like people who are the most active
Yeah.
and with the
Yeah.
cleanest diets and
So
don't do
that's
anything.
like really one of the toughest question I get from my patients.
Yeah.
Like they say, Doc, like why me?
I
don't-
exercise
I
regularly.
don't
I
smoke,
eat healthy.
I don't drink. You know, I'm a good boy.
So why then?
Good boy.
That's the problem. We don't know everything in medical science, unfortunately.
Of course,
yeah.
It's just the triggering of that mutation, as you said.
So I think the biggest factor is also age. Unfortunately, as we
Right.
get older,
Yeah.
the amount of mutations accumulate.
Yeah.
And really, the highest incidence of cancer really comes for colon is like above 50, and you see that continues to rise up to about 70. So that's really the problem because as we get older, the repair mechanisms just starts to malfunction.
Right.
So with that in mind, say 50 through 70, then,
Yeah.
and I'm in that age group. So what are the stages of colon cancer?
Well, you have stage 1, 2.
It's the same
3,
as
and
normal,
4.
any other cancer.
Very
we have 1, 2,
similar.
3,
So
4.
yeah, we all follow basically the NCCN guidelines, which is
Right.
basically a cancer classification,
Yeah.
and you kind of have that stage 1, which is like located only in the colon itself, the inner lining, and then you have stage 2 where it goes a little bit deeper, and then after that you go into the
Spread.
the lymph nodes, which is like stage 3. Then the next station is like other organs, which is like
Right.
liver,
So that would
lungs.
be
So that's
stage
stage 4 is when it
Yeah.
spreads.
Yeah, correct.
Right, okay.
The other thing I picked up on is you talked about obesity very quickly just now. And I've always worried about this. How do we judge someone's obesity? If we use things like BMI, I've always thought that's very much based on a Western body frame.
Yeah, well,
And
we do have-
Asians are different.
Yeah, we do have our Asian standards as well.
Okay.
Like obese is like more than 25 BMI in Westerners,
Okay.
and for us it's like 23.5. But you're right. The other things that we have studied is that instead of using just a value, we look at whether it's like a truncal obesity, whether it's the main body fat if it's within your abdomen,
Yeah,
or versus those that are like really like
everywhere. Yeah.
So central obesity can be another, I would say, risk factor, but we don't really see how it independently affects cancer right now. But people have studied about like how the fat deposition, if it's in the wrong place, if the proportion is wrong, that can be another cause of cancer.
But you can't really regulate where your fats go,
You
right?
can't.
According
You
to
can.
my PT, I was like, how do I make my
go
arms
this
skinnier?
way.
And he's like, no, you cannot target. You cannot.
Wrong places,
yeah,
right?
So,
I've been telling mine to move. It won't listen.
Move to where though?
Everywhere.
Get
Exactly.
out of the body.
So I think from the science point of view, these are all like surrogates of how your body is different from another, and
Right.
whether that undermines kind of a mechanism that affects cancer behavior.
Right.
So that's our hypothesis, basically.
Okay, we're going to go to a traffic break and then we're going to go back on air and then we're going to ask
Early
maybe
signs.
maybe FD you can ask about the stages
The
again.
stages again, yeah.
Just for the on-air listener.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah?
sure.
Okay.
You maniac. You maniac.
Kiss 92 traffic.
Okay, here are the areas to look out for. The TPE towards the SLE, a vehicle broken down before the CTE exit. KJE towards the PIE, an accident after Sungai Tengah exit. Congestion is to Chua Chu Kang Drive. Avoid lanes 1 and 2. That's about it for now. Just please stay within the speed limit. Have everyone buckled up. Be safe as you drive today.
Good morning. This is the Big Show with, I was going to say Glenn. No, he's not here. Angel.
I look a bit different.
Yeah, you do. Angel Daphne and the Flying Dutchman, and it is Good Morning Doctor time. We have a general and colorectal surgeon from Mount Elizabeth Hospital, the one in Orchard, Dr. Chong Chun Seng with us, and we're talking about colon health.
And I was asking you just now, does colon health follow the same stages as
All the
every
other
other
cancers.
cancer?
Yeah, so similar, right? So you
Okay.
have stage 1, which is more or less limited to the inner lining of the colon, and then stage 2, it goes a bit deeper into the muscles, and stage 3, you go into the lymph nodes, and then stage 4, it spreads to the other organs like liver and lungs.
So
Okay.
we've always heard this. Stage 4, and I'm going to be blunt.
Yeah.
Stage 4 is too late.
Okay, so thankfully for colon cancer, stage 4, you can further divide that into kind of like 3 groups.
Okay.
All right.
And
Okay.
they're not all incurable actually. At this day and
Okay.
age, actually even stage 4 can be curable
Yeah.
For colon cancer.
for colon cancer.
Okay, all right, okay.
So for certain kinds of cancers, they're probably not as good. But for colon, if you have like what we call oligometastatic, that means you have only one, maybe
Right.
in an organ, and it's potentially removable. And so we couple that with chemo and maybe sometimes radiotherapy.
Radiation. Yeah.
With that, you can still achieve a pretty decent, we call cure, maybe
Right.
about 40 odd percent. That's
Wow.
not too
Amazing,
bad. Yeah, but if
yeah.
you get like something like where it's multiple organs and many places, then it really goes down.
Yeah.
So the 5-year
Yeah.
survival could be as low as like less than 10%. So it's
Wow.
Right,
yeah.
right.
it's
So,
quite
Doctor,
different.
before we go back on the Big Show TV, I just want to ask you, what are some of the signs of colon cancer that we have to look out for?
So, well, first thing, the most important to know is that early cancers may not have any symptoms.
Oh,
So that's
right.
why we promote about colon screening.
Yeah.
And but for the later stages, we kind of divide them into like left-sided cancer and right-sided, because the colon you have
Right.
left side and right side. So anything on the left side, you get bleeding, blood in stools. You may-
Pain? What about pain?
Pain is not a predominant feature.
Right.
In fact, most cancer patients don't
Don't have any pain. Yeah, that's why it grows because you don't know it's
You don't
there.
know.
Yeah.
Ah,
When it
right.
has pain,
Okay.
by the
It's
time it has
probably
pain,
something else.
it causes like it's
Rupture.
probably big enough
Pressure.
a rupture,
A rupture,
or a
ooh.
blockage in the intestine. and
Or
that's
it's
where-
pressing against something else, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, let's continue talking about what signs to look out for colon cancer on the Big Show TV. You can join us on YouTube and Facebook at Kiss 92 FM. The time now is 8:13.
Kiss 92 Time Check.
That was MVP, Angel.
I think we've heard from a doctor before previously that
Yeah.
if there is like bleeding in the stool and no pain, that's something you
That's
should
a
worry
sign?
about, right?
Yeah.
You could say that because pain is not a predominant feature in
Yeah.
cancer, but also depends on the type of blood. So blood in stools, common cause is actually like hemorrhoids
Right.
or fistulas
Yeah.
or fissures. But if you spontaneously bleed without even having any form of like constipation and it
Oh,
just
right.
comes by itself,
That's
then
bad,
that's
huh?
kind of like worrying.
Okay.
And if the color is a bit darker than fresh red, that's a bit worrying as well, because the blood you get from hemorrhoids and fissures around the anus
It's
is
fresh, yeah.
Right, okay.
But if
okay,
it's
got
dark,
it.
that means it's been sitting there for a while and it's only coming out now.
So we think that it's like
Internal.
more higher
Yeah.
up, so it's more proximal. So
Yeah.
it could be like in the intestine, the large intestine.
We've got a question on our Facebook page from Ashley.
Okay.
What causes polyps in the colon, and does that lead to cancer?
Well, that's a good question, Ashley. So yes, actually the precursor of colon cancer is mainly polyps. And again, the causes of polyps is probably related to similar to what I mentioned about cancer, like the lifestyle that you lead. But age is really the main one. So we do see a higher number of patients with polyps as you get older, and that's why we advise for colonoscopy,
Yeah.
which is like usually in Singapore we start at about age of 50.
It sounds uncomfortable, but really it's not.
It's-
Because you
Yeah.
don't feel anything,
don't-
right?
yeah,
You're
you're not
not
there,
there, and that's
You've done
it.
it before?
Yeah, okay, clearly.
Me too.
Yeah.
But the thought of it is just like, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to have
you,
that.
You said
Yeah.
we start colonoscopies at 50.
50.
I actually I started doing my colonoscopies at 40.
Yeah, so in
Wow.
America it's 45.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the recommended screening age.
Right.
But a lot of people get it earlier, especially when they have symptoms.
Right, of course.
Okay,
Yeah. So
okay.
for screening means for patients with no symptoms.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if you're about the age of 45, I would say that you could do it.
Yeah.
But of course, the national guidelines will be 50 in Singapore.
50.
And how
Okay.
often?
Okay, the good thing is if it's because it's very accurate. If you have one, the colonoscopy is clear, and the bowel preparation means that the whole intestine is very clean. It's easy to see, and you don't spot any misfindings. You probably do it about 5-10 years. So for
Every
most-
5 or 10 years.
yeah,
Oh,
so
wow.
for patients with no family history and really there's no other risk factors for cancer,
Right.
and you don't have any polyps on your scope, you could do it actually based on guidelines. It's 10 years.
How would you know if there's a polyp?
Well,
It's pops
in
up
the
on the screening,
colonoscopy.
So
right?
the first one. So based on your first
Oh.
one. So if you did one, like Angel, you said you had one, and
Angel
it
is
just
here, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's
okay.
okay.
It's okay.
It's all right. It's all right.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Angel. So you have one done,
Yeah.
and it has no
Nothing,
polyps.
yeah.
Then that's it. Then you base it
On
on
the and then
On
5
that
10
date,
years.
and then 5 or 10 years,
Correct.
right?
Got you.
Okay. Okay.
And if I may ask, what are the screenings or tests available to detect colon cancer? Is it just a colonoscopy
Or
or?
anything
Yeah,
else?
it's a good question. Again, there's the few types. Stool test is something that you may have talked about.
Which sounds gross, though, to everybody.
Yeah, so it's a bit uncomfortable, and you kind of like poke at your stools. But
Wait,
but
we have to poke at our stools, or we
Okay.
just
We give it. You just pass it on to somebody else,
well,
right?
then you still have to dig your stools
Oh,
and put
oh,
it somewhere.
that's
right?
why it's
yeah, so you
uncomfortable.
can't avoid the handling of stools, which is one of the barriers towards using stool as a test.
Yeah.
But it is cheap. In Singapore, it's free.
Oh.
You could actually take it from like Guardian, and we have this like colon cancer awareness month every March,
Okay.
every year.
Okay.
And they provide a health promotion board as well as cancer screening centers. That means they provide free screening kits for everyone to just take. And you do it
Wow.
every year.
But how much more accurate is a stool sampling test than
Definitely
a colonoscopy?
less accurate than colonoscopy.
Oh, really?
And that's why
Okay.
you kind of got to do it twice each time, and then you have to do it every year.
Oh.
So it's
And
more accurate.
The scope is definitely much more accurate than that.
The
And
scope, right,
the
okay.
Scope, yeah. Then the other test is like an X-ray or CT scan. And again, if you find something on the CT scan,
You
can't
still need the
biopsy it,
scope.
You still need a scope. So the scopes becomes like the gold standard. It's-
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I was terrified at the
The first
idea
time,
of a
right?
scope. You know,
Exactly.
I mean, especially the whole flushing out. You know,
Yeah.
with that drink
really,
that you have.
The
Many
prep for
people.
it
The
is
prep-
actually the
Yeah.
worst part.
The
about
worst,
it.
right?
Yeah.
And then once you
exactly.
once you go in, you get put under. The next thing you wake up, you're like, oh, really? It's
Done.
done. You know, you
Exactly.
don't even
I
feel
had
anything.
the best time waking up.
Best-
Probably because I was
You just like the
so
drugs, that's
gone. I had no
No.
awareness of what was happening around
That's
me.
so common because a lot of people never really had a good sleep, and because we gave you that sleeping pill kind of thing.
Yeah, and I,
so
I,
they wake
basically,
up
I
like,
didn't even
wow.
dream. I just
Yeah.
had my
Deep
body
sleep.
just rested. It
Yeah.
was amazing.
So we'll just go for colonoscopies because we need good sleep.
Okay, I didn't say
no.
that. That didn't come from the doctor.
I'm feeling really tired. Let's go have a colonoscopy. Wong Lun has come in and said,
Okay.
how can I save my colon? I think he's talking about colon cleansing and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
you have time, yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
I mean that really it's I would say it's like a wellness topic, and in medical field there's really no proof that really
works.
improves.
Yeah.
But we do know that gut like microbiology, the biodata does affect our health in many ways. It also affects obesity, affects cancer. It affects like people with functional disorders like irritable bowel syndromes.
IBS, yeah.
But we don't have to clean it to clear it. We actually can use like probiotics, prebiotics, and there's a lot of studies that's being done to see how they alter with different types of food that we take.
Right. Got
so
you.
I mean I wouldn't go for like a cleansing.
Colon cleansing. I was going to say because a
Yeah.
lot of wellness resorts and all that, especially around
I
the
know,
region,
do that. I know, yeah.
and it sounds even grosser than a colonoscopy. But, so
Absolutely.
you wouldn't recommend it. I mean, it flushes everything out. It's pretty much like taking that drink, right?
I would just say that there's really no data, no proof
Yeah.
to say that works or changes the lifestyle in any way.
How about have you seen any patients that have gone through
I
a
have
eating
actually.
cleanse?
I have.
There you
And
go.
they ask me, yeah. So
but
that's
it makes
such common.
sense to
Yeah.
cleanse. I
I-
mean,
yeah.
you're literally clearing the pipes, and that should be a good thing, right?
Well, I think if you bring into the whole environment that the microbiome is like a balance with your body.
So you need some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not trying to make yourself into a bubble boy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're kind of like trying
Yeah.
to have a balance. So you kind of like need to live with it. So by cleansing every time if you eradicate it,
You're
you
cleaning the
just-
good stuff out as well.
Yeah.
correct. And then you're just letting new stuff grow at random. So that's
Oh,
probably
right.
not the way to do it.
That makes
there
sense.
you go. That makes,
That
a,
makes
lot
a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We have a little more time. So I just wanted to ask,
Okay.
because as a cancer survivor, does that make me more susceptible
Prone.
to other types of cancer? Like, should I up my screening? Should I go for tests more often?
The short answer is yes and no. It depends on the type of cancer you have. So for colon cancer, there are certain types that are associated with it.
I had ovarian cancer, so it's kind of in that
Area.
So it's in that area, and being ovarian cancer, they will have like checked with your like genetics. Like they will. Also
We
check-
didn't. So my
didn't?
mom had breast cancer as well, and so not as well. Well, we both had
Okay.
cancer, but she had the genetic testing at that point. It was like
Negative.
It was very expensive. It was like
Oh.
8,000 for her, and then for I have two sisters. It was 3,000 each to test if we all have the same
Yeah.
gene. So
Yeah.
we were just like, nah, we won't do it.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years later, I ended up finding out about my cancer.
But knock on wood, not your sisters, right?
My big sister also.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
been, but it's different. We had different. My sister and I, we had a very rare type of cancer, and it was kind of like the best kind of cancer is dysgerminoma. So it's very reactive to chemo.
Right.
So doing
okay.
the chemo meant higher. I
Yeah.
think it was like 80%
Yeah.
Chances of
rate.
recovery,
Yeah.
right.
Very good.
So in August I'll be 11 years. in
Nice.
remission. So-
Congratulations.
yeah, once you
Congratulations.
pass the 10-year mark,
Yeah.
you're pretty. I mean, knock on
That's-
wood.
yeah.
But speaking of the chemotherapy and all that, what kind of treatments are available for colon cancer?
Yeah.
Is it the same radiation, chemotherapy, and all that? It is.
Yeah. Similar.
Depending on the stage, I guess.
So early stage surgery alone is fine, and sometimes
Right.
if it's really early, we could just remove it from the colonoscopy.
Okay.
So that's why early screening is really helpful.
You can remove it in the
Wild.
colon.
Yeah,
in the
just with the scope.
colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
So no cutting, no.
But what? There's a
chemo.
little like scissors at the end of the. I mean, walk us through it because I don't know what
Yeah,
happens
there's-
They
inside.
have
Yeah.
a device. They
Yeah,
have a
I know it
device
goes in.
Well,
that
so
has a cap on it. on the top.
Does
I'm
it really?
serious,
Yeah,
Oh, I had no
yeah,
idea.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
you know, like the colonoscope is like a tube, right? And you
Okay.
can put instruments
In
through
through
the
it.
working
Through the-
channels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can put cutting instruments through.
so it slides through the tube if you
Yeah.
spot anything.
Yeah, and you could
Right.
like sort of like cut it in pieces.
Oh my
You could also
gosh.
put like a lasso, you know, like what
Right.
cowboys use.
Yeah.
So you put it around,
Like almost like a rubber band that sort of cuts it
so
off.
you
Yeah.
snip it off at the base, and you use like electricity to enable
To
the
seal
cut
it.
and seal it.
Wow.
And if you get like a deeper cut, you can use clips to actually clip
Clip
it
it
close to
together.
defect. Yeah.
That's amazing. And all this
Wow.
is
It's really cool.
happening in
Through that hole.
microscopic
Well, yeah.
sizing, right?
Slightly
While
more
you're-
bigger
yeah.
than microscope.
But
We're not
still,
that fantastic.
but it's still tiny though.
While you're
Yeah.
having a nice deep sleep.
Yeah,
All
wait.
I know is I'm sitting here now and I'm feeling damn uncomfortable.
Okay, we got traffic. Let's go back on air. We'll talk a little bit about the screenings available.
Okay.
But it's good that they have the free screenings, huh? Like that they do
Yeah, definitely.
Kiss 92 traffic.
Alrighty, the TPE towards the PIE, a vehicle broken down before the KPE exit. Avoid lane 1. West Coast Highway towards the city, a vehicle broken down at the West Coast Highway flyover. KPE towards the TPE, a vehicle broken down before Upper Paya Lebar Road exit. PIE towards Changi, an accident before the TPE. Congestion is to Simei Avenue. KJE towards the PIE, an accident after Sungai Tengah. Congestion is to the BKE. Please stay within the speed limit. Have everyone buckled up. Be safe as you drive today.
We're talking to Dr. Chong Chun Seng of Mount Elizabeth Hospital. This is the one in Orchard Road. He is a general and colorectal surgeon for Good Morning Doctor. And FD, you've got your hand up, which means you have a question.
Before you came in, this morning, we were talking about this all morning.
Yeah,
We were.
All
Yeah.
morning.
we were.
Okay.
Where do we stand with farting and colon cancer?
Okay.
Farting. Say it again.
Farting.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's so nice to be able to say it on air.
But we also learned a new word.
Yes. Yeah.
Instead of fart, you say
science-
flatus.
Flatus.
Flatus?
Flatus.
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 Flatus. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay,
Flatus.
so flatus and colon cancer.
How are they related?
Okay, so the short answer is no. Generally,
Oh.
it's not a risk, a symptom of colon cancer. Flatus has a lot to do with basically the food you eat and
Lactose intolerance.
yeah, and if you take certain types of fiber, you're kind of like more prone to getting increased flatus.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
beans as well.
Beans. I was just
Onions.
gonna say
like
beans,
yeah,
the
nuts.
onions.
Yeah, nuts. Oh, wow,
correct,
okay.
correct.
That's a way to get bad flatus.
So the easy way for anyone to find out about the types of food that increases flatus is you just look for this thing called FODMAP. FODMAP.
What is that?
FODMAP.
So it's kind of like a diet that we kind of prescribe to patients with irritable bowel syndrome.
Right.
Okay.
And in that food list is very exhaustive. There's a lot of food that increases flatus production. So
Right.
if you find that you have a problem with flatus, well, you don't necessarily have to see a doctor for that. You just need to like
Change your
avoid-
diet.
Yeah,
Change your diet.
correct.
Right.
The other thing is, well, we think that probiotics actually work as well. So for some people, like for patients who come to me with a
Flatus
farting
problem.
problem,
Flatus problem.
Flatus
farting problem.
problem.
Okay, good to say that on air. Farting problem. We were like, okay,
Look at him. He said it 3 times already.
addictive. So we will actually tell them, yeah, maybe try some probiotics, and generally that could also reduce the amount of flatus. Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
for colonoscopies, I don't need to go to a specialist, right? I can go to a government hospital if I want to get one.
Polyclinics
Oh,
do
yeah.
that as well.
Polyclinics.
So they don't do the scopes on the clinics.
Okay.
They
Oh.
will refer you to a specialist still.
Oh,
in the
right,
So you
government
will
okay.
still be referred to. So
Specialist.
Polyclinic will refer you to a specialist in a government hospital
Yes.
who will do it.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't.
Okay.
I don't think you can get scoped in a polyclinic. You need to sleep.
Wait, I
You
just
need to be beds.
We have a little bit of time left. Just want to ask you a quick
Yeah.
question. Now, apart from colon cancer, which we've spoken about for the past half an hour, what other colon-related conditions are common in Singapore?
Well, there are many.
Okay.
So we're talking about colon, that means specific to the large intestine. There are conditions that cause infection. Commonly, one of the conditions is called diverticular disease,
What's
where
that?
again is related to like an age problem, where there is these out pouches in the colon, and they form these recesses that stools can get stuck in.
Oh,
So they
no.
can cause bleeding and pain and fever.
But you won't know that it's there
You wouldn't
unless
know
you
until
do
you
a scope.
at least you see it. But the truth is that such disease, although they are prevalent, but more than 50% of them are asymptomatic for life. So you,
Oh, right,
you don't really
okay.
have to actively prevent it or do something about it
Okay.
until they
okay.
give you a problem of bleeding or infection.
Okay,
Right.
so with
Yeah.
colon cancer being number 1 in men and
Yeah.
number 2 in women after breast cancer,
Yeah.
what is your one piece of advice you want anyone listening to be able to maintain good colon health?
Yeah, I think screening is the most effective way of cancer
Yeah.
prevention, really.
Yeah.
So once you're that age group, go for your screening check. You could do a stool test, you could do a colon test, a colonoscopy. And if you have any symptoms in doubt, just see a doctor early. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of times you could just treat with advice and medication, and if you're better, then it's great. If not, a check like all of you have done. I'm so happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really simple. It's really simple.
Okay, okay. And if you have any issues at all, you can always go see Dr. Chong Chun Sing at Mount Elizabeth Hospital
Thank you.
at Mount E Orchard.
And remember, if there's anything you would like us to talk to on Good Morning Doctor, just send us a WhatsApp. We'll make arrangements. We'll bring a specialist in to talk
Yep.
about it.
Hashtag GMD at 88550920. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in.